I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
All right, well, there it is. I agree with everything.
Yeah, and that's your argument. Yeah.
A million points for you both. This is Arena Debates, episode 1. And we handpicked you guys.
Oh, incredible.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm Cat Burnell.
Hi, my name's Jessup. I run One Jump Inc. We do all kinds of fun projects like fighting wildfires with autonomous drone swarms.
I've come up with 3 questions to ask you guys, and the way it'll work is I'll give the question, and then we'll see if maybe either of you have like a opinion on if you want to be for or against the motion.
Sure.
And then it'll be like 1 minute, and you guys will just debate back and forth.
Have you done debate in high school?
No,
It feels like you
I was
have.
very against arguments.
Oh, okay.
I agree with everything.
Yeah, and that's your argument. Yeah.
So the first question is, who has created more impact, AI influencers or AI researchers?
So I would say AI researchers.
So you
So
have
I
to
think
defend
we
AI
would
influencers.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm reflecting
Yeah.
on what you bring to the table, so it's very easy for me to
that's
understand.
very good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very good.
That's true. I've only revealed too much, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. Very good.
She gave a good point for AI researchers.
Mhm.
Now you have to defend
Okay.
AI influencers.
Sure. A lot of the technology already existed, right? So when do you actually get recognized? When it's actually in the market. So I don't know if that's under the definition of influencer, but someone who actually builds it might have more impact than the researcher.
I would argue that researchers, whether they're carbon-based or silicon-based, so I'm going to include the AI researchers that are researching themselves in that class, have more impact because they are the foundation of everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
All right,
I
well,
do.
there it is. That's a point for you,
Points.
Kat. Very well. Okay, question number 2. Do you think big tech companies will reduce the workforce by 50% before 2027?
I
Absolutely.
disagree.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good. Why don't we start with you? Jessup?
Sure. I only disagree in what should be done. I don't know. I can't predict the future, so I can't predict what big tech will do or any single company. But what I've seen in the trends is that once you can do more with less amount of resources, you just don't stop spending money. You spend the same amount of money and get more work done. So AI just accelerates what you're already doing. And so these layoffs, in my opinion, reflect a movement that has already been in queue.
So you're saying it's a transformation rather than a reduction?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that the incentive structure of capitalism is wildly broken. And as a result, the opportunity to save money while still growing in productivity is what fuels the capitalist-driven economic infrastructure. I think that that reaches a point of collapse at some point. Right now, we're in the moment where cost savings, workforce reduction, it's very appealing to shareholders. What I think is very short-sighted and where I do definitely agree with you is this is not what should happen.
And I think the cool thing that we're seeing is that once there's a lot of data centers being built, right? Surprisingly, the physical jobs tend to be stable, right? Because there's electricians, plumbers, everything that's needed to actually keep that infrastructure. Now, in the future, will robots do that at some point? Maybe. But for now, that job market has exploded. So it's just different places, and that's why I think education is important.
I hate to say, but I think that that's a slightly privileged point of view, that education is important because that assumes that you have the livelihood and that you can hold in that stasis. I don't think that that's the condition we have right now because there's such a consolidation of wealth at the top. It leaves the rest of us, everyone I know, even the most privileged amongst us who are not the 1% struggling to survive day to day.
That makes sense. So I think that's why merit-based scholarships, right, and like opportunity-based, scholarships are important, right? So having education at the tip of your hands that doesn't cost as much, I think is important. And I would say yes. Like realistically speaking, the same thing you can learn at Harvard, Stanford, all of these are open source. So I would say it's actually easier than ever before to learn all of these technologies.
So I'm a college dropout, but I do find that there is a layer of gatekeeping, and the smaller the market of available jobs, the more competitive those jobs are. Doesn't matter if you understand, if you're intelligent, if you're educated, if you don't have the right credential behind your name at this moment in history.
The points you both made were very good. I don't know how to pick a winner. I think that's a tie. No, I think both arguments were great.
Sounds good.
Question number 3, final question. This one will be easier. Open source versus closed source.
Open source.
Oh, sorry, Jessup.
That's okay. Yeah.
Who wants to start? You want to start?
Sure. I really believe that when you build upon ideas, you take from the void or from the ether, you take a concept and then you pass that on. And now someone else with a different background and a different set of experiences can take that concept and add something from a wildly different aspect. And that's how we achieve novelty.
Pretty much, right? I think it does invite a lot of collaboration and goodwill, because literally every piece of information that I have, I've shared with everyone at the arena. That being said, I think there are importance of closed source in the sense that code is property. It's property that a lot of R&D has developed, and software engineers have put their sweat and tears sometimes into this code. Yeah, exactly. And so how do you protect against that, right? And so people, even if you do not open source the code, you are seeing a lot of accusations between foundational models and labs saying, oh, you stole our code, you distilled our model, and that's not okay, right?
I think that hybrid approach has evolved out of that sort of protectionist ideology, whereas protecting my intellectual property is part of the old world order that I think we need to move away from, because what that's left us with is systems that are all competing, like capitalism versus communism, but ending in the same place, which is authoritarianism, exclusivity, and a plutocracy that rules us all.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention is that there are some systems where closed source has to be legally required, right? So if you're working with any kind of health data, HIPAA compliant, or any of the sensitive information where you have client confidentiality, that has to be closed source.
There's depersonalization and denaturalization of the data.
Yeah,
so you can have an open source
But
iteration.
how about the database? You can't open source the database, right?
Yeah, but
Or the
there's a
schema
difference
of the
between
database.
open sourcing IP, and I think this is, you and I fundamentally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So when you generalize the schema of the database and different novel algorithms of how to manage a database, that deserves to be a research paper, right? But if that's not the case and you're actually implementing industry standard database schema, then that information I don't think should be on the open internet.
Let me push the question further then. Let's say
The faster arrival to AGI, would fully open sourcing everything or closing source on everything?
We both are living that life and that way of life, and I'm open sourcing everything I'm doing. I'm publishing as I'm working. I'm not holding things close to my chest, even though I'm in a competition frame.
I'll push back.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go.
I like it.
Just in the sense that, if there is no closed source allowed, that's almost a totalitarian society that we live in. Everything you create has to be open source. I don't think that's that's almost a non sequitur. That's not really something that should be done.
All right. Well, that went much longer, but it was very interesting. 1,000,000 points for you both. The first episode, I think we cannot declare a winner. This was amazing.
I surrender.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I surrender as well.
That
Thank
was
you,
very
Jessup.
enjoyable.
Thank you. Do you guys have any final words?
Yeah, tune into the next episode. There will be even more